What's going on, everybody? GoodMicWork commentaries back at you with another edition of The One-Off, and this is going to be a very quick WWE Crown Jewel review. The show literally just ended a few minutes ago, and it's controversial as fuck already. Everybody's pissed off, everybody's mad, so I'm going to briefly kind of run through the results here, and then I'm going to get the hell out of here. I'm also going to bounce around. I'm not going to go in order of the show. I want to talk about the most important things first, and I think the match that tops the list as far as significant things happening on Crown Jewel was definitely Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman. So we're going to start right there with that match. In my predictions a few days ago, and even prior to that, in my last couple of episodes, I had mentioned the possibility of WWE doing a non-finish between Brock and Strowman and crowning a new champion somewhere down the road. Maybe at Survivor Series, or on Raw, or at TLC, or at the Rumble, or something like that. With all of the controversy attached to Saudi Arabia, and with WWE not even being completely sure that they were going over there up until a few days ago, and the outrage and backlash from the fans and the media and everywhere, I said right from the start that if you're going to put the title on a brand new babyface top guy, this is not the show you want to do it at. WWE has been very reluctant how much they're mentioning Saudi Arabia, have not even mentioned Saudi Arabia by name on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown in the past couple of weeks. I didn't hear them really mention that they were in Saudi Arabia tonight on the show. Now, I missed the first hour or so of it because I slept in, but from what I saw, I wasn't hearing Renee Young or Cole or Graves mention Saudi Arabia all that much. So there was just so much turmoil surrounding the show that I didn't really think it was a place to crown a brand new babyface champion and have a show that you're going to have to reference back to throughout the end of time when you're looking back at this guy's first ever WWE title win. So I said right from the start that we're probably looking at two options here. Number one, a non-finish. The two guys tear up the ring, the pay-per-view set, or get counted out, disqualified, something like that, and they do the match again here in the United States. Or you put the belt back on Brock, essentially hitting the rewind button to before Roman was champion, and now you can just put it back on Brock, and he can drop it now to Strowman or to Drew McIntyre or somebody here in the near future. But we didn't get the non-finish. We got a Brock Lesnar victory. Brock Lesnar is your new Universal Champion. He came out there with Paul Heyman. This match was also not the main event. Two matches went on after this one, so this was right in the middle of the card. The whole thing had a very funny vibe to it, and I just wasn't expecting or wanting Braun Strowman to win the title. Yes, that's right. I did not want Braun Strowman to win the belt here. I thought they could get through this match and do it with him sometime down the road, and that's exactly what they did. Braun Strowman wasn't defeated and buried the way he was the first time he faced Brock Lesnar. He wasn't beaten clean. The acting general manager of Monday Night Raw screwed him over. Before the bell even rang, Corbin hit him with the belt from behind, and then he walked right into an F5, which he kicked out of. And then Brock picked him up again and hit him with another F5, which he kicked out of. And then Brock picked him up again and hit him with another F5, which he kicked out of. Brock then picked him up again and F5'd him over the top rope onto the floor, gets him back in the ring, F5's him a fifth time, and finally, he's defeated. So really, what's the difference between Braun Strowman kicking out of 3 F5s and a title belt shot to the back of the head, and Roman Reigns kicking out of 5 of them at WrestleMania when the fans shit their pants? Everybody's acting like Braun was done some sort of a big disservice here when at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns did the same thing, and even in the loss, fans claimed that he was made to look too strong. Roman kicked out of too many F5s. Nobody was saying that tonight about Braun Strowman. So I just wish the fans were a little bit consistent here in their arguments. To me, I'm looking at the bigger picture here. You know, I know it seemed obvious or likely or logical for Braun Strowman to be champion, and I think that can still happen. It's just with the setting of Saudi Arabia and everything going on with this show, to me, if I was making the decision, if I was a booker, if I was Vince McMahon or Triple H, I would do the same fucking thing. I would say, look, Braun Strowman is going to be one of our stars of the future. He's got a lot of years left. I don't want his first title run to be at a show that was so controversial. I would much rather have Braun Strowman hold up the Universal title at a Survivor Series or at a regular pay-per-view or at a WrestleMania. What I see here, given the fact that Brock won the title and we know he's going to be having a match in UFC down the road, he can't hold this title for another 410 days. And plus, when you factor in that Corbin screwed Braun Strowman, both GMs were actually up to some shady shit on this show. So I think there's going to be consequences for that. Braun Strowman can now be hell-bent on getting his revenge on Baron Corbin. Brock Lesnar can be off of TV for a while and then come back and drop the belt to Strowman or McIntyre or somebody, at Royal Rumble or TLC or something like that. But for the immediate future, Brock isn't going anywhere really right yet because they've already advertised Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles at the Survivor Series. Spoiler alert, AJ did defeat Samoa Joe, no surprise there. So we're going to get a rematch from last year, AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar, champion versus champion, but no titles will be on the line in a couple of weeks at Survivor Series. And I'll throw one more at you. I actually might prefer AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar over AJ Styles versus Braun Strowman. AJ and Brock tore the house down last year. I think they'll do the same thing this year. I think AJ and Braun could be fun, but I think the overall match would be better if he's in there with Brock. So I really don't have a huge problem with this, but I can understand the fans freak out here because a lot of them are really incapable of kind of looking to the future, so they kind of just live in the moment and judge what they see and freak out and fly off the rails without realizing there might be a bigger picture at play here, and I think putting the title on Brock was probably just the better thing to do. I made the same argument for the World Cup. When I was doing my predictions for the World Cup, I said if it was up to me, I'd give the World Cup to a heel because this World Cup shit is a joke. And no fans are taking it seriously, and the fans are already pissed off about the show in general. I don't know if you want a babyface coming out on TV carrying around that cup everywhere. And we'll talk about what Shane McMahon did in a minute. So those were the type of things I was thinking about when factoring in who I'm going to predict to win a lot of these matches. And when it comes to Brock and Strowman, this is what I would have done. I think the fans are freaking out because they think that Brock is going to hold the belt for another 410 days or something like that. Some people even think that he might hold it until WrestleMania. I cannot guarantee you're not incorrect about that, but I would really doubt it if Brock Lesnar held the belt that long. Especially if his UFC fight comes before then. I don't know if WWE's going to want to risk, him getting his ass kicked as champion prior to WrestleMania and all of that. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of options here. And one of those options, I mentioned it in my predictions video, I would not completely rule out. I think we can closely rule it out, but I wouldn't totally rule out this coming Monday on Monday Night Raw in the UK. Almost 1 year ago to the day, WWE had a big WWE title change take place over there when AJ Styles beat Jinder Mahal. So I'm just saying, maybe on Monday night, Stephanie McMahon or Kurt Angle or somebody like that makes some sort of a ruling that what Baron Corbin did was bullshit, and they book a match between Strowman and Brock on Monday, and Strowman wins the belt on Monday Night Raw. I don't think that's going to happen because Brock's probably already on a plane home, and plus I think Strowman's going to want to get his hands on Baron Corbin first, but I'm not completely ruling out that scenario. So I think we have a lot of possibilities and a lot of potential for Brock Lesnar to drop that belt. If you think he's going to hold it for 400 days, you are out of your mind. This was something that was done because Roman Reigns forfeited the belt. A lot of people don't remember that he forfeited the title like 12 days ago. This is very, very new. It caused WWE to have to rebook things and rework some of their plans, and this was the decision that they made. And remember, this match was originally a triple threat with Roman Reigns defending the title. I was not expecting a title change on this show. So the fans that are mad that Braun Strowman didn't win the title here, guess what? He wasn't going to win the title anyway. He wasn't going to win this triple threat match. They were not going to go to Saudi Arabia and do a title change over there. I think the only reason they did it is because they had to do it because a monkey wrench got thrown in their plans when Roman forfeited the belt. So all of that kind of factors in here, and I am just not in the least bit concerned or worried or mad or pissed that Brock is the champion. I think I would be in a little bit more agreement with folks that are upset if this happened at Survivor Series, if this happened on a regular pay-per-view here in the States with no bullshit attached to it, and then Brock comes out there again and just beats Braun again, then you're going to be like, okay, yeah, what the fuck? But this wasn't a clean victory. Corbin hit him with the belt. There's lots more they can do moving forward here, and I'm not ready to cancel my WWE network just yet. Speaking of champions, guess who else is a world champion in WWE? AJ fucking Styles. He beat Samoa Joe in this match. This was another match that was reworked because Daniel Bryan was replaced by Samoa Joe, and again, we weren't expecting a title change here. Even if Daniel Bryan was in this match, I didn't expect him to win the title here. AJ Styles has held the WWE title for a year, officially this Wednesday. I believe it was November 7th last year in Manchester when he beat Jinder Mahal. So that is on Wednesday. And now that he's already announced to face Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series, champion versus champion. That pretty much guarantees that he will hold that belt for a year, and there's not going to be any weird shit going on Tuesday. But AJ Styles wound up beating Samoa Joe in a pretty good match, beat him with a phenomenal forearm, I believe. And I'm sure there's a lot of fans mad about this because, when Samoa Joe's lost to him like 4 times in a row or whatever, again, a lot of this has to do with Saudi Arabia. They're not going to randomly put the belt on Joe after they've been advertising Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles for weeks, and then at the last minute, 3 days before the match, you're going to insert Samoa Joe and then randomly have him win the title like he should have won all along. And I hate to break it to you, but Samoa Joe is kind of injury prone. He's had a lot of problems since he's been in WWE. And to be honest with you, if I'm in a decision-making role in WWE, I'm somewhat reluctant to put the title on Samoa Joe just based on all the issues that he's had and the problems that he's had. But all of that aside, it doesn't matter. This particular show just wasn't going to get a WWE title switch. Before we get into the main event, let's talk about this silly-ass World Cup tournament. Boy, did this one end strangely. I predicted The Miz to win the whole thing. He made it to the finals, but he didn't even compete in the match. So let's just rewind and start with the beginning. Let's start with the opening round matches. Rey Mysterio defeated Randy Orton, which I did predict correctly, and after the match, Randy Orton assaulted the hell out of Rey Mysterio and beat the crap out of him. We then had The Miz defeating Jeff Hardy to advance, so I got both of the SmackDown matches right in the brackets. Over on the Raw side, I got Ziggler defeating Angle wrong. I thought Angle would easily beat Ziggler and advance there, but I did get Seth winning correctly. I didn't think Seth would beat Lashley clean. I believe he did, hitting him with the curb stomp and winning. I kind of thought Lashley might get DQ'd, might do something to Seth similar to what he did to Balor last week on Raw, and Seth would advance that way. But no, it was a pretty clean victory for Seth Rollins, and great, because Seth Rollins is the fucking man. I would like to see him become world champion. Forget Braun Strowman. Put the Universal title on Seth. If it was up to me. But Seth advancing there was pretty cool, and he would face Ziggler in the semifinals on the Raw side, and Rey Mysterio would face The Miz on the SmackDown side. The Miz would defeat Rey Mysterio to advance to the finals, and Dolph Ziggler, with help from Drew McIntyre, would defeat Seth Rollins and move on to the finals as well. And we're going to get a heel versus heel final here. Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz, and this is where it got weird. Right when they start the match, The Miz is tossed out of the ring or something like that, and he falls awkwardly on his leg, and he says he can't compete. He's too injured to compete. And you could tell this is a work. There's no way The Miz is really injured here, or at least it didn't look that way to me. And Shane McMahon is out there along with Baron Corbin so they could represent their brands in the World Cup. And Shane McMahon stops the ring announcer from announcing Ziggler is the winner due to forfeit by The Miz. And Shane somehow convinces the referee to allow him to replace The Miz. Somehow this is all okay. John Cena in storyline was thrown out of the Crown Jewel tournament because he didn't qualify. Shane McMahon isn't even a fucking wrestler, and somehow he's in the finals. So I don't even know what the hell they were doing here. To me, it looked like WWE made a complete joke out of this World Cup tournament, which actually makes me happy because this tournament was a joke. It was fucking stupid. Best in the world. Get the fuck out of here. But the finish and the ending of this was so bizarre and weird, and I didn't understand what the hell the purpose of it was or what they're even doing. They allow Shane McMahon to compete. He takes his shirt off, he has a match with Ziggler, and he winds up beating him and winning the World Cup. So the only thing I can think of here is that they did this whole deal with Shane McMahon to kind of make the whole thing go away. You actually wouldn't know that from Shane's reaction. After beating Dolph Ziggler, he was running around the ring like he just won every single title in the WWE simultaneously. That's how hard he was celebrating. But I'm going to guess here that coming up on TV, Paige or Vince or somebody will render his victory null and void, and they will either just do away with the cup and forget it ever happened, or they will do a rematch somehow to crown the new World Cup winner, on SmackDown or maybe even at Survivor Series. But I'm thinking they did this with Shane McMahon just so they wouldn't have to ever talk about it again, and it would just go away. Because if a wrestler wins it, then every time that guy comes out to the ring, the commentators are all going to have to mention it, when they're touting their accomplishments. He was the first ever World Cup winner. They probably just didn't want to have to deal with that, and they want to have to look back and reference this show in Saudi Arabia as little as possible. And I think the Universal title changing hands was big enough, and they didn't want to have to worry about really talking about this again. That's just my guess. We also saw the Bar retaining over the New Day, and the show opened with Hulk Hogan. He was the host of the event. He came out and cut a promo, so we got to see Hogan on the show. And that pretty much just leaves us with the main event, the Brothers of Destruction versus D-Generation X. And Shawn Michaels, I'll tell you, man, he didn't miss a beat. He looked great He looked so fucking good. I mean, minus the hair, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get used to seeing him with a bald head. But as far as the physical shape he was in, I dare say he looks a little bit better than the day he retired. I mean, he really did look amazing in there. And he had one very, very scary moonsault from the top rope onto the floor where he almost died. But aside from that, he looked very good in the ring for a guy that's 53, 54 years old, whatever he is. He moved around pretty good in there. He was taking some bumps. I'd say I'd probably grade the match similar to what I graded Triple H versus The Undertaker at Super Showdown. It was kind of like the same. There was a couple of table bumps, and there were some good moments in there, but really it was just four old dudes fighting each other. To me, I was just watching Shawn Michaels. He was even in his old Shawn Michaels gear, sort of. He wore the old ring pants that he would always wear during his matches. Kind of had like a black vest and a black cowboy hat to kind of match the DX vibe. So he wasn't full-on sparkly sexy boy, but he still kind of had shades of that old Shawn, and maybe it's something we can get used to, and I'm pretty sure this is only the beginning. D-Generation X did wind up winning. They had a little sequence there where I think Shawn... I forgot who even got the pin. Shawn superkicked somebody. They ate a pedigree. DX got the victory. I think they pinned Taker. Might have been Kane. I don't even fucking know, to be honest with you. But who cares? I did predict that match wrong. I thought the Brothers of Destruction would win since Triple H won last month, but at the end of the day, I'm happy that Shawn Michaels actually won his return match. And that's another thing that sucked about this pay-per-view, is that, you know, Shawn Michaels' return to the ring, which should be a big deal, you know, was really not generating that much interest from fans because of all the sourness surrounding Crown Jewel. You know what I mean? So for Shawn to be in there, it was nice, but I really hope we see him again, and I think we will. Shawn looked in too good a shape for this to be the end. I think this will carry Shawn into WrestleMania. He'll have a couple of matches, and maybe he'll have some dream matches. Maybe he'll work with AJ Styles. Maybe he'll have the retirement match with The Undertaker that I pitched a while back. There's lots they can do with Shawn here going forward, and I'm excited to see him back now that he's back in the ring, and hopefully he'll come back in for a quick little 4-month run, and he'll be done again. So, you know, if I'm taking anything positive away from this show, it was the fact that we did see Shawn Michaels return to the ring. Everything else, to be honest with you, I didn't really care about. I didn't care if Strowman or Brock really won the title. To me, it didn't matter. Roman Reigns forfeited the belt. Plans had to change, and to me, I was like, well, I don't really care what WWE does do. If they put the belt on Strowman, great. I'm a huge Braun Strowman fan, one of the biggest, and I would have been completely fine with him walking out champion tonight, but I'm also not disappointed to see Brock get the belt back either, because that might have been the decision that needed to be made. You know, provided he's not, like I said, provided he's not holding that belt for another 400 days, I really don't see the big issue with it. So luckily for us, we are only 2 weeks away from our next pay-per-view, and I would think that the next couple of weeks on TV might be pretty decent as well, because we don't have much time to build Survivor Series. That means this week on Raw and SmackDown, we're going to get the majority of that card finalized, because the week after that is the go-home show. Here's kind of a crazy idea for you. What if at Survivor Series, AJ Styles gets on the mic and says, hey, Brock, why don't you be a man and put your title on the line? And I'll put my title on the line too. And the winner walks out with both belts. And maybe AJ actually beats Brock Lesnar. I mean, AJ lost to him last year. That's a question I have for you guys. Do you think AJ gets his victory back against Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series? I don't think so, considering Brock is Universal Champion. But if the title is on the line, maybe AJ takes it and wins both belts. Who knows? I know that's a far-fetched idea, but it is an idea, so keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now so I can get this thing edited and up to YouTube. Let me know all your comments on the pay-per-view below, which I'm sure you already have, and I will talk to you guys this coming Monday for my Monday Night Raw watch-along. Until then, peace.